And like the TY is smooth, but the X and Z is what overshoots. Feeling like there's some keys going missing here. So already that feels pretty good. And another alternative, which again, I'm noticing this as I'm starting to animate a little bit, it'll be your choice whether you want to have her hand following spine end, which will be here, which would be my choice. But you can also make it follow just the cog and not the chest, which would also be another possibility. Because depending on your shot, if you have a lot of like breaths, which your arm will move with, if you don't want to deal with sometimes having to counter that, you can put it on the chest, so it will still follow with the general body, but it'll stay relatively still when you move the chest around quickly, and then you can just add in manually a little bit of like motion to go with that. And so if I'm looking at the cog, which also helps to go into the shot knowing it, that way you can make sure whatever control the wrist follows is relatively smooth, so it's not popping around a lot. But with that said, I think the glass hand is working pretty nicely now. There's obviously a little bit of popping here and there, and there's obviously a lot of keys that I would go through and just go through and like clean this up. And I very much clean curves while watching what I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, I want this to go down and then back up. So this feels good to me. I go through here and I'm like, does the wrist need to pop up through this section, right? If I'm watching, there's nothing that's relatively nice about the wrist going up. I feel like simpler would be better through this section because she's just holding the glass. So I'm like, I can delete this, right? And I can just simplify the motion, because if she was doing a laugh and the wrist came up, I'd be like, okay, let's keep that in there. But because she's just holding it, I'm like, it doesn't really need to come up and back down. And same here. This is just one clean motion, so it doesn't really need to go up and then slow down and then go back up. So I'm just gonna delete this and go like that. I'm gonna okay. Oh, that feels pretty nice. Here does make sense why it would go up, right? Because she's like, boom, right? So what I might do is I might move this over because it feels like the motion upwards is a little bit harsh. There we go. I feel like that's better. And then I might just like clean this up a bit. There we go. And so if I'm just taking this section and I'm just going through it and cleaning the curves, X is, what is X? It's kind of diagonal. That's kind of weird. Okay, so I'm just talking about in this diagonal. It's hard to tell with these AM rigs. Sometimes they've got the weirdest orientations for their translations. Like again, this is kind of, well, I guess it's relative to the body, so that's not terrible. So if I watch it relative to the body of just TZ, I can tell like, okay, I don't really need a jitter right here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this key. There we go. I don't really need these jitters. So let's go ahead and clean these up. Delete these. Okay, so now we got a nice clean motion in the TZ. Very nice. Yes, Shun. Unless you're doing very low level animation, even the most basic rigs are going to have IK spine and FK spine. If they don't, honestly, you can make your own. Like, it's very easy. You just have to set up a simple constraint hierarchy of a control up here that's constrained all the controls underneath it with different fall offs. It's relatively easy to make your own IK spine. So I'm just going to go through, and because, like I said, the motion here is relatively smooth, I know I don't need up and down jitters with the controls because it's not the main motion. If she was doing like a gesture like wah with the glass, I might be a little more careful with how I clean this up, but because it's a simple motion, I'm going to be fairly relaxed with how I clean it up because I know if it's relatively floaty, it's not going to stand out because the body's what's moving most. So simple movement is more important than complex movement when that's not what you're watching, right? If I'm doing a head accent and you're watching the head, I'm going to make sure my curves are perfect and everything is working perfectly. But on the cog during that section, nobody should be looking at my hips while the head's doing this flourishy accent. So I'm going to make sure the cog animation is very simple and maybe even a little bit floaty. That way you're not looking at the cog, you're looking at the head. Because if the cog's popping around, you're going to be looking at the cog more than looking at the face. So that's just something to keep in mind while I'm polishing splining is what does the audience need to be looking at? And how can I make everything else point to that, right? And so that's relatively clean. So let's just go, I'm going to go through because I don't want to, polish your shot for you. I'm going to go through and find sections to demo certain things, and you can take that and apply that to the rest, all of your shot. So here, this is a section where I like to add a little bit, again, a little bit of fleshiness to the spine. Because right now, if I look at it, the hips are moving a ton, and it almost feels like the chest is locked in place, right? And because you're going from these two dynamic poses, I understand why you're doing it. So rather than messing up the two really nice poses that you have, I'm just going to add a little bit up and down translation to keep the chest from feeling pinned while you switch from one pose to the other. So she's here, right? And so she anticipates this way a little bit. And so I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to use these two keys. So this is all good. So I'm going to keep a key right here, but I'm going to take this key. So she's going to anticipate upwards. So I'm going to pull the spine up a little bit here. So she goes up. And then she's going to drag down. And then I'm going to take this key and just make it go here. Right. I think I can even push this a little bit more and maybe delay it a little bit. And I can delay this by a frame. That's too delayed. So I'm very loose with the way I spline, and I'm very timing heavy of like, how does this feel? Can I delay this a frame? Can I move this one frame forward? Because 90% of splining for me is connectivity. And if the body feels connected, it's going to feel good, even if there's a little jitteriness in there. And so I'm like, okay, will it feel more connected over here or over here? Because timing is connectivity. And so I'm like, I like that the torso drags and TY a little bit. But I'm wondering if I can delay this a couple frames, because I feel like it's kind of drifting up, and it should come up like almost popping up. Like that. And then I'm like, okay, does this feel good? Right? I'm like, okay, let's try one frame earlier. I like this now. Like, this feels good. I use layers all the time, Cadriano. I use layers on a daily basis, if not more. I'm using layers, so if I'm animating the body, and I'm like, the torso needs a little squashing, stretching, I'll put the chest on a layer, and I'll copy the cog TY and paste it to the chest, and then scale it. I use layers for breathing, so I'll put a locator on the back of the chest, and I'll rotate it to do breathing motion. I use layers for connectivity in the face. If I didn't have layers, I would be very, very sad. I use it on a daily basis in every single shots, basically. And so again here, she kind of goes up, and you see how her chest kind of hits a lock right here. If you look at like the line of the chest, it looks like it hits a wall. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch the torso a little bit, just because like I feel like I like to get lots of like squashiness in the torso. So as she comes up, I'm going to try and have it come up here. And then she's going to come down, and it's going to almost bounce a little bit, or kind of like a circular settle. So, right. I'm going to delay this. And again, sometimes with motion, you can't tell if it feels good or not until you pump it up to 10. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm like, okay, I can feel like it's hitting down too late, right? It's too late. So I'm going to move these over. And I'm like, okay, that feels a little bit better, but I still feel like the up is too late. I'm like, oh, this feels much nicer now, right? And I'm like, now I can realize that the left to right motion hits a wall too. So that's also what I was feeling. So now that I know the TY feels good, obviously I'm going to tone this back down. And I'm like, oh, this feels really nice. I'm getting this nice squashy stretchiness. I'm going to tone this down a little bit. And now I'm going to go into the translate Y. And I'm just going to make sure that... thank you for the follow, BGC. I'm going to make sure that I delay this a little bit. And I make sure I continue going right until about here, because this is when it hits a wall. So I'm going to move this, and I'm just going to delete keys so that I get this nice smooth motion. And I'm like, oh, wow, that feels really nice now. So she's like, boing, right? And I'm getting this nice, like, fleshy, squashy motion, which might be a little too much, but I can always tone it down, right? I can always go in, pull this curve, and just tighten things up to where it feels a little more tight, right? I think I opened this up, and I thought you were going to have a fair amount of poppiness in your cog, in your center of gravity control. And it actually, your center of gravity control feels really nice, and your hips feel really nice. I feel like a lot of what's happening is in the chest area. And just doing this is going to make your shot feel so nice. Of like, okay, I feel like this is dragging a little too much. Let's just move this over a frame. And I'm like, oh, this feels so much better now. So just little things of one frame can make so much different in your shot between this and this, right? Timing is everything when it comes to the chest. And also getting rid of little jitters like this can often help as well. And so I'm like, okay, can I get rid of these and still keep the same feeling? Okay, maybe I need a little overshoot like you had, but it not as jittery. I'm like, okay, this still feels pretty nice. Let's just go ahead and hook this up. There we go. That feels relatively the same, and I feel like it's hitting a wall right here, which it is. And so I'm like, okay, can I, again, make an overshoot and settle? So overshoot and settle. It's going to overshoot and then settle back, which the settle is a bit too quick. And again, make it big, feel it out, and then tone it down. And so I'm like, does this feel connected? Yeah, it does. And actually, it doesn't feel too bad being that big. So I'm going to keep it there. Grab this, and I'm going to pull it down. Right. And I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to clean my curves. Right? And already, like, I can feel like this feels so much better now. Just removing... I've probably removed 10 keys from your chest and added 5 in 10 minutes, and I think it feels really nice. I think something that's nice is that you can do is like she's leaning screen left, and then she goes, wow, and then she goes screen right. Right now she's kind of drifting screen right, and then she goes, wow. And so I feel like it kind of removes from that moment that you can have. And so I'm looking and I'm like, okay, how can I keep her over here to start out with? That way when she goes, wow, she can move her chest to the right? So I'm like, okay, let's feel this out, right? So she's moving left, which I'm also feeling out what the steps are doing. So the chest is going to kind of overlap left to right based off what your hips are doing. So if I'm watching the hips are traveling right, and I'm like, okay, she's a little bit out of balance here. It doesn't look like it in the shot cam, but just for cleanliness sake, I'm like, okay, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So she needs to be traveling screen right over that foot, right? Let me go ahead and turn this off just so I can see what I'm doing. So she's traveling screen right, then she's traveling screen left. So I'm going to move her left a bit, and then she's traveling screen right. Something like this. Let's just watch this. That's way too much. So let's go ahead and tone this down a bit. Tone this down a bit. Boom, boom, boom. And let's go ahead and tone this down just a little bit. Still too much. There we go. That feels nicer. I might even move this up just a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Nice. Okay, so now that I've cleaned this up, I know what my chest should be doing because the hips stop moving right on frame 9. So I'm like, okay, the chest should be moving right until 2 frames after, right? So till frame 11. And then she starts moving screen left. It stops moving screen left on frame 22. So let's have it on frame 24. That's when it stops moving screen left. And now we have that nice like boom, 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 right? That might be a bit too much, so I'm going to tone this down a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, this is still a little too much, so let's move it back a frame, right? There we go. I like that. So let's go ahead and I'm bad about this, but it's very nice to do, is constantly flipping back. Not high proxy, that's cursed. Low, there we go. Constantly flipping back and forth, so I'm making sure whatever I'm doing still looks good with the rest of the body. Yeah, like honestly, looking at it, it looks better than it did without the head. So I'm really happy with the way this is turning out, of like just simple things that I'm doing, very easy to clean up. So So do you have any questions on that, Sanjana? Is there anything else specifically you want me to go over that I do with my splining polishing pass that you're struggling with? Or, I could go on for another couple hours, but I want to make sure it stays, dedicated to what you need or what you're struggling with. Clean up the jaw. The jaw's a tricky one. So facial controls. Okay, so for the lip corners, I have a very nice tip for this to clean up. Is there any way you could quickly send me the audio so I can have it in Maya just for lip sync purposes? Like, I can go over stuff while you're sending it, but if you could pop that on the Google Drive just so I can hear the audio in Maya, that would be great. But let me go ahead and take a look at what you've got here. Very nice. Cool. Okay. So one thing that I like to do, I don't do this with every shot. Most shots are simple. I don't do this. But for big body mechanic shots like you have, I'm going to create a new camera. And I'm just going to call this face cam. I'm going to go ahead and create a group. And I'm going to call it face cam GRP. And then I'm going to go to my outliner. I'm going to select head first, face cam group, modify, match all transforms. Whoops. Sorry, face cam group first, then the head, modify, match all transforms. There we go. Now we have a camera that can be rotated around the head. So now I can just kind of rotate it, get it exactly how I want it. I'm like, okay, cool. Now I need to go in and I need to set the focal length on the camera to probably about 80, just so I keep it flat, because it needs to be relatively flat in order for me to easily see what the face is doing. So now I'm going to take head control first. Whoops. I want my outliner. Constrain parent. Boom. So now if I play it through, I'm only seeing what the mouth corners are doing, right? Which can look very janky and make it look very, very weird, but it will very much help when you're trying to clean up the mouth corners. 1 second. Let me grab the audio real quick. Download. Cool, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and repath this. No, I do not want to play Blast. Maya. Boom. Okay, let me repath this real quick. Okay, where is the final audio? Okay, let me just flip it over here. Desktop. Okay, sometimes Maya has a weird issue where it can't repath audio, so typically I'll just delete it and I'll just drag it and drop it back into Maya because that's easier. There we go. We should be... What? Can we please have audio? Maya? Yes, I can go over that real quick. Import. Desktop. Unrecognized file type. Interesting. Hold on 1 second. This is going to be quicker. I'm just going to pop this audio into Audacity. That way I can get it inside Maya, because for some reason it doesn't like MP4A. Boom. There we go. Sanjana, do you have your audio offset by a certain amount? It looks like you probably have it offset by 5 frames. Okay, let me try 30.
Wow. No wonder people work. What am I gonna do with all this money?
Let me just make sure it looks good in the shot cam.
Wow. No wonder people work.
Okay, cool. So what I did for the face cam, Sanjana, is basically I created a camera. I grouped that camera under a group. I moved the group to face her face, and then I constrained the group to her head. So now if I select the face cam, right, I can still move the camera, but it follows along with the head just because the camera's underneath a group that's constrained, right? So if I just hit play, I can see that, everything's moving around. So what I'm going to do to clean up the jaw is literally, it looks stupid if anybody sees you doing it, but I'm just going to go through and I'm going to make the sound. So like, I'm just going to be like, wow. Okay, so that just needs to be a clean wow, right? Wow. And it just opens and closes, right? So then I'm going to feel out, when do I hit the peak of wow, right? And I also do that based on how loud the person says it. So I'm like, okay, 85 is whenever she's the loudest. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to move this one over and I'm just going to make it ease nicely. I'm going to go like,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And so here's a really nice trick for everything. So let me quickly move this, create a cube. This is one of the biggest discoveries I've made in my animation period. And it was Sean Lee that taught me how to do this. So I can't take credit. But let's say you have a cube going from point A to point B, right? So it's just going in a straight line. As animators, we don't like straight lines. We want curves. So if I wanted to curve it, I could go in and I could put an in between. Boom. Now it's curved, but it's still kind of weird. And I'm also going to make this quicker just for... There we go. And I'm also going to hit play, pause. Okay. So for mouth corners, we don't want to go in and set in-betweens for every single pose to pose we have on the mouth corners, especially because they're very quick sometimes. Maybe you have it's here and 2 frames later it's here. You don't have the time to put it in between and it's going to be poppy, etc. What you can do, this is for translations and rotations, is you have, okay, TX, I'm offsetting it by 3 frames this way. TZ, I'm going to offset it 3 frames this way. Now, I have an arc. This is a bit quick of a move, so maybe I do 2 frames for each one. There we go. Without adding an in-between, I have an arc now, right? The cube is moving in an arc and I don't have any in-betweens. The same works for rotations, right? So if I have, let's just set a key here. And let's say I have a character looking, right? So they're looking down and then they look up, right? So he's going, wee. I'm just going to think about like, okay, if I'm looking down and I want to look up, right? I'm going to lead with rotate Z, and then I'm going to start going with rotate Y, and then I'm going to go rotate X. So I'm like, okay, let's go into the rotations, and I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to rotate Z 1 frame forward. Rotate X is going to go 1 frame back. Now, look at that. I have a perfect arc on the head, moving 2 curves, as opposed to what I had before was a perfectly straight line. So instead of this, I get that. So that's how I clean up my mouth corners. Is I'm going to go through. Let me go ahead and pop this back up. Oops. Undo view change. Oh, darn it. I'm dumb. I forgot to lock my camera. Okay, where is it? Let's just do this quickly. Okay, cool. Okay, let me turn my audio back on.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Okay, so let's say she goes, wow, right? So I'm going to want wow, right? I want it to go back before it goes up. So I'm going to take the mouth corner, which honestly, I typically work like this, and I'm just going to grab this, turn it off. Okay. So if I'm looking at TX and TY, I can see that they're both moving at the same time. Wow, right? But I just said that I want TX to move before TY. So I'm going to take the TY and I'm going to delay it by a frame. I'm going to take TX and I'm going to move it forward by a frame.
Wow.
And look at that. We have free arcs in the face. So I'm literally going to go word by word on the corners, and I'm going to be like, okay, I want the Y to happen before the X. So let's find a section I just did where X happens before Y. Let's find one where Y happens before X.
No one. No one.
It's Quosny. Hello, John. So maybe I went like work, right? So it goes down and then it comes out. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to say, okay, TY. And I'm also going to clean this up a little bit. TY, let's go one frame forward. TX, let's go one frame backwards. Let's just clean this up.
Work.
There we go.
Work.
Right?
Work. Work.
There we go. So it goes work. And now you have a free arc. And I just literally moved one key. And then you're perfect. Give me one sec to get some water. And so the way I do lip sync is I go through and I do my jaw pass, like I said. So I'm going to be like, okay, no. So I'm going to be like, open, close. No, wander, right? A lot of times I find it's a pitfall for people to over enunciate lip sync. So it's no wonder people work, right? So it's like, no wonder people work. And it over enunciates the jaw. I go through and I see how simple can I make the jaw and still have it read. Because the simpler the jaw with it still reading, the better. Because simpler is better. So I'm like, no wander. Can I do that? No wander. Or do I have to do wander? Because if I do wander, that's more movement and less frames, and that's going to be hard to fit in. So it's like, no wander. No wander. Okay, I can do that. So I'm going to put it in there and feel it out and be like, okay, that works. So then once the jaw's working, then I'm going to mess with my phonemes.
Work.
So like work, okay? I want a little bit of a flair on work, right? Work. So let's just go in. And
Work.
what is this? Let's open. I'm going to open this up a little bit. Another tip for like k noises is I try to pop the jaw. So you're popping like k, but I also try to do like k. So I'm like, she's like, work. So I'm going to open it up on this frame, and then I'm going to go back to here. So it's like, right, right, like that. To me, that feels really nice. Like, work. And so she's like, she's taking a breath. I'm like, okay, when do I start hearing the breath? I'm going to hear it around here, so I'm going to ease that closed. I'm hearing the loud breathing noise here. And then it comes to a close here, so I'm going to delete this. I don't really need, whoops. Yeah, I don't need the whole rotate white X curve. There we go. No, I don't really need this, so I'm going to keep that closed. And I'm like, okay, what is this noise? What am I gonna... Okay, so I can keep this closed here.
What am I gonna do with all this money?
Right. So that's how I'm going to go through and clean up the jaw, right? Like just going through and just step by step. What is the... Do I need this motion? Does it make my lip sync read, right? So let's just go through here. Let's go ahead back to shot cam.
What am I gonna do with all this money? Wow. No wonder people work. What am I gonna do with all this money?
And then that's another section that I feel like you can fix is, let me go and pull this in.
What do you do with all this money?
Okay, so another thing I like to do is I like to have a mouth selection set. Whoops. That way I can select the entire mouth. For time's sake, I'm just going to do this quick and dirty. Make sure I have all the controls that I need. Make sure I'm not selecting any joints or anything. What are these? Oh, it's the teeth. Okay. Let me just select those two. Okie dokie. Okay, so I'm hearing the M on 204. So I'm going to try to take the M shape on 199, which let's do this in the shot cam. That way I can make sure it still reads. Okay, so let's just take all of this. Which, again, this isn't 100% because I think I may have offset your audio too much. So let's... I'm hearing this, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's try 25 frames just so I'm not moving lip sync around a bunch. Okay, 25 frames. Cool.
Money.
There we go. Okay, so back to what I was saying about the jaw, is a lot of times, especially for me, ends were very tricky to get read, right?
What are you gonna do with all this money?
Right, because it's like money, and it's not reading super well for me right now, and I find a lot of it is in the jaw movement, and so I'm gonna try to do money, right? What am I gonna do with all this money? So I'm gonna try to just open on ma and close on knee. So it's closed on this frame. Ma. And then closed on E.
It's money.
Right?
Money.
To me, that instantly reads better, right? I just literally opened up the jaw and then closed it back, and money reads better now.
Money.
Let me just go back to the shot cam and watch it.
Money. Money.
Now, obviously, I would try to keep... I'd try to keep my lips open. Here. This may not be the best way, but just quickly, I'm going to try to keep it open.
Money.
And then I'm going to go through and... I'm just going to delete this.
Money.
Okay, set a key here, here, and then let's try to keep these.
Money.
Teeth. Zero these out here. Obviously, this is not perfect at all by any means, but
Money.
you'll need to clean up the poses and make them look pretty. But basically what I'm getting at is, like, she's like, what am I going to do with all this money? And she gets this creepy smile. I feel like a pitfall students fall into is closing the lips immediately when the lip sync stops, or opening the lips immediately when it begins. But she's like, what am I going to do with all this money? Right? She's going to keep them open for a fair little bit.
What am I gonna do with all this money?
So just clean up that pose, but try to keep it open like I showed here. Also, I'm just noticing a little bit of poppiness in the rotations here. I try to keep my rotations of the chest fairly simple. So I like her rotating forward. I think you can smooth it out just a little bit. What is this doing? Okay, so rotating left here. I think you can just ease this a bit. That way it's more simple. Cool. How does this feel? There we go. Just noticing little things here and there. But yeah, do you have any questions or anything on that, Sanjana? I probably threw a lot at you, but hopefully some of this helps. Like, this is literally just my process for splining and polishing a shot. It's going through and just simplifying, making sure the motions that are simple, and the ones that are complex, but the main thing on making things clean. I am a very, very clean animator, so hopefully that helps. Oh yes, I also had the demo for what is his name? Cadriano. But yeah, thanks for sending your shot, Sanjana. Possibly, if you'd